G'day, it's Wednesday. Robbie Fishing Q&A. Hey? Yay! Let's play. Rightio, I'm going to try and keep this week's episode a little bit shorter. Absolute Magic has asked, do you have any tips as to how to fish for Murray cod in early June, late May, as I'm planning a trip for a few days to target big Murray cod? Thanks, mate. G'day, Absolute Magic. I don't fish for Murray cod a lot in late May, early June. Once or twice each year I might get out and flick a few lures, but that's about it. Going down to the Murray River and targeting the really big cod is something that a lot of people enjoy, but it's not for me. To get a really good answer for that, you're probably better off to contact some of the people that catch these bigger fish more regularly. Somebody like Rod McKenzie, for example. Me personally, it's just not something I do a lot, but if I was going down, I would be prepared to be patient. Because you see photos of these really big Murray cod being caught from the Murray River and Lake Mulwala and other parts of the state, Copeton Dam in New South Wales, Lake Eildon. You see these big cod caught every year in winter, but what you don't see is the hours and hours and hours of dedication and perseverance that those dedicated anglers put in to making thousands of casts for one fish. So in the winter, definitely you need to practice your 3 Ps. Patience, persistence and perseverance. I hope that helps. Martini Carbine has asked, G'day Robbie, during winter have you thought of heading up north to get into the fishing, mate? To be honest, Martini Carbine, I haven't. A lot of people crave a trip up north chasing barramundi. The guiding business up there is huge. A lot of people pay guides to go out chasing barramundi. Yeah, it's something I'd like to do one day, but it's not at the top of my priority list. Yeah, it's just a personal thing. It's like a lot of people want to go to New Zealand fly fishing for really big trout. This time of year, a lot of people head up to the Yukonbean River to chase the big brown trout as they're spawning. I'm not interested. I enjoy having fishing in my backyard and just being able to fish close to home. I've got goals and things I like to do close to home. Yeah, so I haven't really thought about it. Maybe one day I'll do it, but it's not at the top of my priority list, mate, to be quite honest. Link Ryan, what is your favourite rig to use when carp fishing? G'day Link, and thank you for the question. When carp fishing, mate, I usually use a paternoster rig. Sometimes I'll use a running sinker rig. I was actually fishing with a friend of mine. He's from the Fish Brain app called Doc Yaram. And he was telling me the other day that he started using a running sinker rig a lot more than a paternoster rig, and he's finding he's having better hookup rates with the carp. So running sinker rig, paternoster rig, they're both as good as each other. It comes down to personal choice. But your question is, what is my favourite rig? And my favourite rig is definitely the paternoster rig. Thanks for the question, Link. Local Fishing has asked, hey Robbie, got a question for your next Q&A. What program do you use for editing? Thanks for the question on Local Fishing. Over the years I've used quite a few different programs for editing my videos. Most of my videos have been edited with Windows Live Movie Maker. Matty Boy has asked, and this is a great question. For your next Q&A, how can we get a lot more subscribers and views on our YouTube video if we are a small channel? Please help and give us some ideas. This is a great question because I like helping small YouTubers grow their channel and grow their audience. There are a number of ways you can do this. If you watch videos on YouTube, a lot of people talk about SEO, which is search engine optimization, using the correct tags, titles, and that's all really good, but what it boils down to is your content. You need to have good quality content. If your videos don't stand out from everybody else's, then your channel is not going to grow any bigger than anybody else's, regardless of how you tag and title and thumbnail your videos. So if you're a really small channel, one of the best ways to grow your channel is to interact with other YouTubers. Watch other videos like mine, leave comments. If you see somebody asking me questions in my comment section, help them out by answering their questions. And do that for other videos. Go around other videos. People will see your name helping people. Then they'll say, who's this bloke? And then they'll click on your thumb. And then if you've got good quality content, they will subscribe. If they click on your channel and see that you've just got boring stuff, they probably won't subscribe. So first of all, the first thing you want to concentrate on is having good content. The second thing you want to concentrate on is getting your name out. And the best way to do that is by commenting on other people's videos. Thirdly, other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. use any avenue you can find to get your name out there. Be warned that a lot of other social media platforms don't like YouTube, particularly Facebook. Facebook actually hates YouTube. They're direct opposition. Facebook and YouTube are a bit like Coles and Woolies, or Holden and Ford. They're heir to the throne. So the last thing Facebook wants is its traffic leaving and going to YouTube. So when you share your videos on Facebook, you don't reach anywhere near as much of an audience as what you will by sharing a photo. But it's still worth doing, particularly if you've got a small channel and you're trying to grow it. So I hope those tips help you out, mate. But remember, number one, focus on the content. Why do you want people to watch your videos? Do you want them to know how awesome you are? A lot of people doing that don't grow. Or do you want to be able to help them? Do you genuinely want to be able to help people? Because if you genuinely want to be able to help people, then they're going to go to your channel and you are going to become a credible source of information. And when you do, subscribers will come flooding in. Chris Bittle asks, Chris is from America, and he is an absolute legend. He comments on a lot of my videos. Thank you, Chris. I love the fact that American people comment on my videos. I love America. Hello, Robbie. I was curious about what your reptiles and amphibians do in the winter in your area. Do they hibernate like here in Pennsylvania? Might be a good question for your Q&A. Thanks, buddy. Have a great weekend. What a nice message. Thank you, Chris. Here in Australia, our snakes don't actually hibernate. I think the true meaning of hibernation is when, like bears, they'll take food into their hole and they'll lock themselves underground for the winter. That's hibernation. Our snakes and reptiles here in Australia, they just go to sleep. For example, right now where I am, it is bitterly cold. The sky is grey, there's a southerly wind, it's only probably 10 degrees Celsius and it's very cold. There's not a snake to be seen. But should the sun come out, the wind die off and just randomly the temperature heat up to 24 or 25 degrees Celsius, snakes will suddenly come out because they're not in hibernation, they're just asleep. I think the correct word might be a torpor. They go into a torpor, which is like a sleep-like state, and as soon as conditions are right, they'll come out. And that's why when you do get an 18 or 19 degree day in the depths of winter, you'll still find a snake from time to time. Black snakes seem to like coming out in the winter to get that sunshine. So my pet snakes, I've lowered their temperatures in their enclosures. Normally I have them right up in the high 20s. I've got them down in the low 20s at the moment, just to give them a bit of a rest. When their temperature slows down, they slow down, their metabolism slows down, and I don't feed them all winter. So I hope that answers your question, Chris. Thank you very much for asking, and thank you very much for watching me all the way over from that amazing country that is the United States of America. Okay, now Nardi has asked, hey Robbie, quick question. What's your best advice for Murray cod fishing with lures, specifically spinners and swim baits? Thanks for the question, Nardi. Swim baits, I like them later in the day or close to the banks. I don't see much point in casting a swim bait out into the open water where it's 20 foot of water and you're just only a metre or so under the surface. But in a river, when you've got logs and structure laying along the banks and in the water and the fish are close to the banks, that is a great spot to use swim baits. Around structure, close to steep banks is a great spot for swim baits. As for spinner baits, probably the best tip I've got for spinner baits is something that a lot of seasoned fishermen will know, but new anglers aren't sort of really familiar with, is when you cast your spinner bait out, try not to have too much slack in the line, because it's amazing how many Murray cod will hit the spinnerbait as it's sinking. I call it on the sink. You would have heard me use that term in some of my videos. You hit it on the sink. I don't mean that he's on the kitchen sink with a knife and fork eating it. I mean he hit the lure as it was sinking. So that's the golden tip to spinnerbait fishing. As it's sinking, don't have heaps of slack line. Try and keep in contact with the lure so that if a fish does hit it, you can quickly put your thumb on the spool and lift your rod tip up and set the hook. Another good tip for spinnerbaits is go slow. There's no need to reel them in at 100 mile an hour. A nice slow thump, 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 thump over the blade is enough to entice a Murray cod, and slower is better. And just a general rule of thumb that a lot of people are familiar with spinnerbaits. In fast water, you might want to use a spinnerbait with a willow blade. In slow water, you might like a Colorado blade. The Colorado blades displace a lot more water, which can slow the lure right down. in fast water, if you've got that Colorado blade on that's doing that, the current will make it swim too high, whereas the willow blade will allow the spinnerbait to sink further. So willow blades in fast water, Colorado blades in slow water, and make sure you keep plenty of tension on your line as it's sinking. Thank you very much for the question, Nardi. I hope that's a good answer. Boss Gamer Sam asks, is the river under Copton or Pindari good for cod, mate? Sorry, buddy, I've never been there. I don't actually know. So you might have to probably pop into your local tackle store and ask them, mate, because they probably have a better idea than what I have, simply because I've never been in that area. BHB says, I've just purchased 3 new reels. One is the Abu Garcia MG Extreme 2 with an 8:1 gear ratio, and another is the Abu Garcia Premier with a 6.6:1 gear ratio. Which one do you think would be better for my cod setup going by the gear speed on them? 6.6:1 as opposed to 8:1. They're both high-speed reels, mate. I don't think you'll notice a huge amount of difference. There is a big amount of difference. Basically, you'll just need to retrieve the 8:1 slower. 8:1's quite a high-speed reel, and that'll come in handy if you're fishing, say, a river that's really shallow, but it's got a deep ledge on the other side. You want to cast over, fish that ledge, then get your lure back as quick as you can so you can make another cast. That's where your really high-speed ratio reel is going to come in handy. And then if you're going to use a spinnerbait or something that you want to fish really slowly, it's just simply a case of turning the reel slower. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. If you're using a really big hard body lure that pulls a lot and displaces a lot of water, then you might like the 6.6:1 gear ratio. You might find it's a little bit easier to reel in. It's not as labouring to turn the reel around. But look, 6.6:1, 8:1, they're both high-speed reels. I don't think you'll have a problem with either of them, buddy. Will Stevens, 28. G'day, Robbie. Just wondering what reel you use for spinning. I've got a Shimano CI4 Stratic in 2500 size. Jennifer Barrington, what's good small trout rod to fit a 1000 size Stratic? Thank you very much, Jennifer. And I think you're probably better off to go into your local tackle store and ask, because I don't hold all the rods. There are hundreds of different rods on the market these days. I am more than happy to recommend my Wildbait spinning rod. It's a fantastic rod and you can get them from www.wildbait.com.au. But if you don't like that one, you'll have to go into a tackle store, because that's really the only one that I know. Anthony has asked, hey Robbie, what colour lures would you suggest for this time of the year? Lure colour is it's almost a controversial topic, because if I say use bright, someone will go in the comments and say use dark. If I say use dark, someone will say no, you should use bright. So this is what I like, okay? This is what works for me. In really clear water, I like natural coloured lures. In dark water, I like, or even just relatively clear but murky water, I like fluorescent lures, lures that really stand out and can be seen from a long way away. That's my rule of thumb. I don't do a lot of cod fishing in the winter, but if I was to go out in winter, particularly late winter, just before the Murray cod get ready to spawn, I'd probably be using really big fluorescent lures with the hope of just being intrusive and having a lot of presence and just enticing an aggressive strike from a cod rather than a strike out of hunger. Question here from Robert Muller. Hey Robbie, when's the best season for yellow-belly? From Robert. Can you answer it on a stream? Sure mate, I'll answer it right here on Robbie Fishing Q&A. There's no official season for yellow-belly, buddy. There's no open season and there's no closed season. You can go all year round, providing the waterway is open. Good example of that would be the Murray River downstream of Lake Mulwala, which closes to all fishing in the spring months. But as long as the water's open, you're allowed to go fishing for yellow-belly. I find the best time of year for them is in the warmer months, from say early October to late April. In saying that, you will get a few in September and you will get a few in May, and you might even get 1 or 2 during the winter months, but that's not the best time. Your question was the best time, and I find the best time to be about November, December, when they're just coming out of spring. Maybe there's a few spawning type instincts kicking in and they just become aggressive when that weather warms up. So probably November is probably the best month for yellow-belly here in Victoria, I think. Rightio folks, that's it for this week's Q&A. Thank you very much for those of you that have sent me questions. If you've got a question that you'd like to see me answer in my weekly Q&A segment, leave it in the comment section below my video or any of my videos or posts on Facebook. Basically what I do, when I see a question, if I think it's worthy of being on my Q&A segment, I'll screenshot it and then I'll read it out the following Wednesday. Now, if you've asked a question that's already been asked several times, there's a chance I won't read it out if I'm limited for time. I try and give preference to questions that I haven't already answered before. And if you're going to send me question marks when I don't answer the question, then you've got no hope of having your question read out on my Q&A segment. Seriously, I can't just be at everybody's fingertips. I don't reply to questions when I'm at work, if I'm at the pool with my kids, which I do a lot of, if I'm up at Lake Buffalo where there's no phone service. It's just not always physically possible. Imagine right now, oh, hang on, just stop the press. I've got to reply to a question. Doesn't happen. I do it when I can. I reply to people and get back to people as I can. So if you send me a question, then send me a question mark after it when I haven't answered. I'm probably not going to read it out on my Q&A. So thank you very much for those who have asked me questions. I hope I've answered them effectively, and don't hesitate to ask me questions if you'd like to see them read out each Wednesday night on my Robbie Fishing Q&A segment.